Stop. Before you walk into another room full of important people and glue yourself to the wall. Before you hype yourself up in the bathroom mirror and then say nothing when it actually matters, ask yourself this. If talent and hard work were enough to build powerful connections, why are there so many average people with elite access and so many smart, decent, hardworking people stuck watching from the outside? Why do some people get invited behind the curtain while you're still stuck in the audience? Why do they get the mentorship, the opportunities, the introductions, the whispers of "talk to him, she's sharp," while you're the one silently thinking, "I could do more than all of them if someone just gave me a shot"? Here's the dangerous truth. Powerful people do not choose based on fairness. They choose based on perception, usefulness, and risk. Machiavelli lived in a world of courts, dukes, popes, princes, rooms full of power, rooms where one wrong sentence could end your career or your life. He watched how people tried to get close to power: flattery, gifts, loyalty, betrayal. Most of them failed. A few didn't. He wasn't romantic about it. He said something much darker and far more useful. Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because everyone can see and few can feel. You might be brilliant. You might be loyal. You might be someone who would die before betraying a mentor. But if you appear insecure, chaotic, talkative, braggy, jealous, impulsive, needy, powerful people don't see your potential. They see a future headache. They don't have time to feel who you are. They only have time to judge who you seem to be. This video is not going to tell you to worship power or become a fake, smiling climber with no soul. It's going to tell you something colder. You are already in a hierarchy, whether you admit it or not. You are already judged, sorted, ranked. You don't beat that by pretending it doesn't exist. You beat it by understanding the game well enough to move in it without losing yourself. Social climbing doesn't have to mean stepping on people. At its smartest, it means positioning yourself so that access flows naturally to you, because who you are, how you move, and what you bring makes it irrational to ignore you. So let's start with the first brutal shift. You cannot approach powerful people from underneath. Think about the last time you met someone you admired. Did you start with a compliment hurricane? "I love your work. You're amazing. I followed you forever. You changed my life." Did you shrink your own presence? "I'm nobody, but I just wanted to say." Did you immediately ask for something? "Can you mentor me? Can you read this? Can you help me? Can you promote this?" You thought you were being respectful. You thought you were showing gratitude. On their side, it looked like this: another worshiper, another emotional project, another person who wants a shortcut through my time, attention, and network. You've put yourself on the floor before the conversation even started. If someone has to pull you up just to talk to you like an equal, they rarely will. It's tiring. Dangerous social climbing isn't about acting like you're better than them. It's about acting like you are not beneath them. You look them in the eye. You speak at a normal pace. You don't overshare. You don't overpraise. You don't immediately reach for their pedestal and start polishing it with your tongue. You meet their power with composure. That composure doesn't come from pretending you're not impressed. Machiavelli knew that the people closest to a ruler mattered more than almost anything. The prince's judgment was visible in his inner circle. Flip that. Smart, powerful people know they get judged by who they let close. If they surround themselves with loud idiots, users, clowns, flatterers, unbalanced people, everyone questions their judgment. That's the frame you have to walk in with. Ask yourself that honestly. If someone watched how you handle stress, gossip, envy, alcohol, conflict, would they think, "Having this person close makes me look like I choose well"? If the answer is no, the first law of social climbing is simple. Fix that before you chase any rooms. You clean up your reputation, not by PR, but by patterns. You stop being the one who's always in drama. You stop being the one who leaks secrets. You stop being the one whose name is always in mess. You stop being the one drinking until you say things you can't unsay. You start becoming the person whose presence calms rooms down, not heats them up. Because here's the reality. Powerful people are exhausted. Their life is noisy. Everyone wants something. Everyone is either kissing up or tearing down. The rarest thing in their world is not charm. It's reliability. Which is why the second law is this: don't approach power with emptiness. Approach with usefulness. Give me a job. Give me advice. Give me contacts. Give me a shout out. Flip it. Everyone wants something. Even the people at the top. Especially them. The CEO might need someone who actually executes without drama. The creator might need someone who handles boring back-end work so they can focus on ideas. The professor might need someone who does research well and doesn't flake. The local big guy might need someone who's discreet and efficient. Powerful people don't need more fans. They need more functional people. So when you approach, you don't just show admiration. You show awareness. Instead of, I'll do anything. Try, here are 3 things I'm genuinely skilled at. Specific. Grounded. Then, and this is where 99 fail, you actually deliver when the moment comes. No excuses. No emotional chaos. No needing to be handheld. One quiet, reliable delivery does more for your relationship with a powerful person than 50 desperate compliments. But usefulness alone isn't enough. If you look like you'd sell them out for a tiny bit of status, they'll keep you far. Machiavelli knew how much rulers feared betrayal from inside. He obsessed over loyalty, and he wasn't naive about appearances. He knew people can look good while being rotten. That's why he drilled into one idea again and again. A wise prince rewards loyalty slowly and tests it constantly. He didn't write that as a quote in one line, but the principle runs through the prince. You should reverse engineer it. If you want to build connections with powerful people, expect them to test you. They'll tell you half a story and see if it leaks. They'll give you a small task and see if you overstep. They'll mention something vulnerable and see if you repeat it for clout. Most people fail these tests instantly. They run to others. Guess what he told me? They post mysterious quotes, making it obvious they know insider things. They treat a simple task as a chance to prove they're best friends now. You want to stand out? Pass the test silently. You don't brag about proximity. You don't turn their imperfections into gossip. You don't ask for more access just because they gave you a little. You behave like someone who understands the weight of what you were given. Now let's address the thing making all of this 10 times harder for you. Your neediness. You think they don't notice. They do. They see the way your eyes light up too much when they pay you attention. They see the way your mood drops if they can't talk long enough. They feel the way you're already writing a whole fantasy in your head about what this connection could become. Neediness is loud. It smells like hunger. And hunger makes people nervous because hungry people are unpredictable. Machiavelli's world was full of hungry men. Hungry for land, titles, money. He learned quickly, the more desperate someone is, the more dangerous and the less stable as an ally. You need to stop making powerful people your emotional food source. Your life has to be bigger than your access to them. Friends who have nothing to do with that world. Projects you'd work on even if nobody important ever saw them. Standards you'd still keep even if every big name walked away tomorrow. That way, when you're around power, you're not gasping for air. You're breathing normally. They feel it. That is social magnetism. Not being the loudest, funniest, most charming, but being the least thrown by the status in the room. Let me be very clear. You don't get there by pretending you don't care. You get there by building a life that doesn't collapse if this connection never goes anywhere. Only then can you afford to do the most Machiavellian thing of all in these situations. Tell the truth. Not brutal, reckless truth. Calibrated truth. Machiavelli saw what flattery did to rulers, made them blind, arrogant, weak. He warned that princes must find ways to hear honest counsel, even if it hurts. Powerful people are starving for that. Everyone around them says, "You're right, you're brilliant, that's genius," even when it's not. Very few people can say, "This part might hurt you," without sounding jealous or disrespectful. If you can be that person, careful, respectful, but honest, you become rare, precious, trusted. That doesn't mean you critique everything. That's just another way of making it about you. You say one thing real, calmly, then you shut up. You don't preach. You don't gloat. You don't try to show how smart you are. You drop one piece of gold and let them decide what to do with it. That is the root of deep access. Not being loud, not being a fan, being useful, stable, and real. It's only manipulative if your goal is to use people and discard them. If your goal is to build alliances where both sides rise, where your strength makes them safer and their power gives you a bigger field to play on, then this is not manipulation. It's literacy. You're learning to read rooms, read motives, read your own hunger, so you don't walk into the courts of your life blind and offended that nobody handed you a crown. Right now, you're still at the gate. You're still learning how to not shrink, not beg, not leak your value all over the floor the second someone important looks at you. In the next part, we'll sharpen this further. How to move inside rooms of power. What to say, what never to say. How to handle envy from below and suspicion from above. How to be seen without performing. And how to build a network where your name opens doors even when you're not there. But for now, remember these first Machiavellian laws of social climbing. Appear like an asset, not a fan. Bring usefulness, not hunger. Expect tests, and pass them quietly. Because powerful people are not gods. They're just humans with more to lose. If you can be the one person who doesn't add to their chaos, doesn't feed their illusions, and doesn't drain their energy, you don't have to cling to them. They'll start holding on to you. You've been stuck outside the gates your whole life. You scroll, you watch interviews, you see the same faces standing next to power again and again. Same people on the panels. Same people tagged in the group photos. Same people casually saying, "Yeah, we were on a call last week," like it's nothing. And it burns a little. Not just because you're jealous, but because a part of you knows, I could add more value than half of them. You saw it clearly. They're filtering for appearance, usefulness, and risk. Now we go inside the room. Because getting near power is one thing. Staying there, without losing yourself, without becoming a pet, without turning into a threat they have to get rid of, that's a different game entirely. Let's be brutally honest. The room of power is not equal. There's the center of gravity, the person everyone orbits. There are the satellites, old friends, long-term allies, key partners. Then there's the fog, people who drift in and out, trying to be seen, trying to be remembered. Right now, whether you realize it or not, you walk in as fog. You hover at the edges. You laugh too loud near the center. You float from group to group, hoping someone important will notice you and pull you in. They never do. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're not placed. You're not specific. You're not clearly anything. You're just there. Position is not just where you stand physically. It's how you're understood. You need a role in the room, not a performance, a function. Machiavelli saw this in courts where everyone wanted the prince's attention. Most people try to stand out by noise, praise, drama. The wise ones did something else. They made themselves indispensable at one specific thing. You keep thinking you need the title, assistant, partner, manager, advisor, before you can act like someone who belongs. But it's the opposite. You honor the title before you have it. You show up like someone who would make that title look good. You carry yourself like someone who would not embarrass the person who gave it to you. You work like someone who understands that being associated with power is its own responsibility, not just clout. So how do you move in the room without looking like you're crawling? First law, gravity over chase. Chasing looks like this. You hover near one powerful person all night. You jump into every conversation they're in. You laugh louder, talk more, agree faster whenever they're nearby. You abandon whoever you were talking to the second someone more important walks in. Everyone sees it. The powerful person feels it as pressure. The people around you feel it as disrespect. You look like you're auditioning for a role that nobody promised you. Gravity looks different. You don't plant yourself at the center. You build a small, controlled orbit of your own. You have real conversations with whoever is in front of you, whether they're important or not. You're present where you are, not constantly scanning the room for better faces. From time to time, the center of gravity will glance around. Nearby, they'll see you. Calm, composed, engaged, not scrambling, not floating. That's when curiosity starts. Who is that? People who don't chase in these environments trigger a specific thought in powerful minds. They must have their own life, their own options. That is the beginning of respect. Machiavelli understood that when you make yourself too obviously dependent on someone, you become disposable and dangerous at the same time. They pity you, and they fear what you'll do if they ever cut you off. Right now, you're a future trouble to powerful people if you move like this. Your emotions are too tied to their approval. Your entire sense of progress hangs on whether they answer you. Your money, your mood, your motivation depend on them pulling you up. They can feel it, and the wise ones avoid it. You want to be seen as an asset, not a future explosion. That means even while you're in their orbit, you're quietly building stability that has nothing to do with them. Your own work, your own income, your own network. So if the day comes when they step back, you don't fall apart. You pivot. You adjust. You stay standing. That alone makes you safer to be close to. Comment: neediest people think they're showing loyalty. Second law inside the room. Never be the loudest, but never be the ghost. You've probably been both. Some nights, You overcorrect. You become the clown. You feel powerful in the moment and sick later. Other nights, you become wallpaper. You listen, nod, laugh at jokes, and say almost nothing. You feel safe in the moment and invisible later. Machiavelli would say both are bad tactics. Loudness makes you predictable. Silence makes you forgettable. The sweet spot. Selective presence. You show up in moments that matter. You speak when you actually have something to add. You ask one or two sharp questions instead of dozens of shallow ones. You don't flood the room with your voice. You thread it through at key points, and then shuts up to listen. In a conversation where everyone is hyping a risky move, you might be the one who gently points out the obvious downside nobody wants to say, and actually listens. One well-placed line can build more connection than an hour of babbling. Most people in a powerful room are playing to the crowd. They want to look interesting, smart, high status. They talk to fill the air because silence makes them feel small. You're not there to impress the crowd. You're there to register in the mind of the few who actually make decisions. They don't need another noisemaker. They need signal. Be that. Third law. Ally sideways, not just upwards. This is where most wannabe climbers ruin themselves. They see one powerful person and aim everything up. Their jokes, their attention, their loyalty. They ignore everyone below or beside them in the room. Big mistake. Powerful people don't just watch how you treat them. They watch how you treat people who can't do anything for you. The junior assistant, the event staff, the friend they brought, the nobody in the corner who ends up, 3 years later, running something you want access to. Machiavelli talked about nobles and the people, how different kinds of power rise. At first, that sounds like, ignore the people, focus on the prince. But if you read him deeper, he's not saying the people don't matter. He's saying, if your only base is the crowd's mood, you're unstable. But here's the twist for your life. If your only base is one powerful person's mood, you're even more unstable. So you build sideways. You connect with peers who are also rising. You build trust with gatekeepers who don't have flashy titles, but quietly control access. You show respect to staff, family members, background people. Powerful people love to see that, because it means two things. You're not a pure clout chaser. You understand that power isn't just a crown on one head, it's a web. That makes you look less like a parasite and more like a builder. And you know what else happens when you ally sideways? You become harder to remove. If your only connection is one person at the top, and someone turns them against you, you're out. Done. Forgotten. If you're quietly connected to 5, 6, 7 people across the room, some above, some beside, some below, you survive shifts. One person falls, another rises, and your name still travels through the network. You're not the star. You're part of the structure. Now let's talk about the ugliest part of social climbing. Envy, from above and below. You like to think envy only comes from haters at your level or below. It doesn't. Sometimes, powerful people will start to resent you when others talk too highly of you in front of them. If you're careless, you'll lean into that praise. You'll start to believe the whisper that you're the real star, and they're just the stage. That's how you get clipped. Machiavelli saw what happens when a subordinate becomes too adored, too obviously talented, too openly praised. The ruler feels threatened. He warned princes to keep ministers in check, and ministers to appear modest in public. You need that same instinct. When people compliment you in front of the power you're near, you deflect upwards and sideways. You don't shrink yourself. You don't pretend you're useless. You just don't let your light be framed as a comparison. The wise ones will notice. From below, envy shows differently. People spread rumors that you're arrogant, fake, a sellout. This is the tax of climbing. You can't fix all of it. You can't PR your way into everyone's good graces. All you can do is make sure their envy doesn't have too much truth to stand on. If they say, she ignores everyone now, check yourself. Are you really too busy to send a 2-word reply sometimes? Or are you enjoying the power imbalance? If they say, he thinks he's better than us, ask, did you start talking down to people once you got invited somewhere new? You're not responsible for their insecurity, but you are responsible for not becoming the monster they paint to feel better about themselves. You fantasized about access for so long that you thought once you got near power, your problems would be over. They're not. They're upgraded. You'll face higher-level manipulation, higher-level tests, higher-level betrayals. People at the top didn't get there by being naive. Some of them are kind. Some are not. All of them know that if they let the wrong person in, it can cost them everything. So you treat power like fire. Warm, useful, necessary, but able to burn you alive if you lay on it instead of cook with it. You keep a piece of yourself untouched by any room, any title, any connection. You remember what Machiavelli implied over and over, that fortune turns, rulers fall, favorites are replaced. If the whole ladder collapses tomorrow, what's left of you? The skills you built, the character you protected, the people you didn't step on, the self-respect you refused to sell. That's the only real insurance in this game. So as you step into the final part of this video, understand this clearly. You're not learning how to become a court jester with better jokes. You're learning how to be the kind of person powerful people are relieved to have around. Steady, sharp, discreet, useful, unneedy. Someone who honors every title they touch. Someone who rises without dragging others down. Someone who could lose every connection tomorrow and still stand up, look in the mirror, and recognize themselves. In the last part, we're going to fuse everything. How to turn early proximity into long-term alliances. How to exit rooms without burning bridges. How to make your name do work for you when you're not present. And how to play the long game so one connection doesn't become your god, but one of many doors you can walk through on your terms. Because social climbing, done blindly, makes you a pet. But done with Machiavellian precision, it makes you something else entirely, a player. By now you've noticed something strange. You haven't even changed your wardrobe. You haven't suddenly become famous. You haven't magically become richer. But people are reacting to you differently. The way you pause before you speak. The way you don't rush toward the most important face in the room. The way you stay calm when plans change, when messages are seen but not replied, when someone with status walks in. You're not as easy to read. You're not as easy to impress. You're not as easy to move. And power feels that. But this is where most people blow it. They get a taste of access, a handful of conversations, a few replies from someone they admire, and they sprint straight off a cliff. They text too much. They ask for too much. They assume too much. They treat early proximity like a guarantee instead of what it really is, a test period. Right now you are in that test period with more than one person, whether you know it or not. Someone has watched how you move. Someone has noticed you're not like the others. That's not an insult. That's the entire point. It's built on mutual usefulness, mutual respect, and mutual risk. The question is, can you hold your position long enough for that usefulness and respect to grow, or will your own hunger knock you off the board? Let's talk about the most common way people destroy new connections, trying to buy them. You might not think you're doing this, but look closely. You pay for their course you don't even need, hoping they'll notice your name. You shower them with gifts, favors, introductions, hoping it buys you a permanent spot in their life. You do free work far beyond what was asked, not from abundance, but from desperation, hoping they'll feel obligated to take care of you. And then, when they don't, you feel betrayed, used, cheated. Machiavelli could have predicted that feeling centuries ago. Read that again. Purchased but not owned. And at the proper time, cannot be spent. You can buy someone's temporary attention. You cannot buy their loyalty. You cannot buy their real respect. You cannot buy your way into their inner circle by stacking one-sided favors and hoping they feel morally obligated to pay you back with access. Because when the time comes, when you really need support, a recommendation, a risk taken on your behalf, that friendship won't spend. They'll forget what you did. They'll tell themselves stories about how you benefited too. They'll choose someone more useful, more strategic, more stable. Calculated social climbing doesn't mean you never give. It means you never give blindly. You still help people, but you don't bankrupt yourself to prove your worth. You still do things for free sometimes, but as targeted investments, not as endless rent in someone else's universe. You want them to value you for your character and competence, not for how much free labor they can squeeze out of your insecurity. So how do you turn early contact into a real alliance without turning yourself into a servant? You pace yourself. You don't jump at every request like a dog hearing the food bowl. 3 seconds to every message just to prove you're devoted. You don't say yes to everything and then deliver late, stressed, resentful. You underpromise and overdeliver. Once, twice, 3 times. You show you can execute, then return to your own life instead of orbiting them like a dying moon. But while you're thinking about loyalty to power, you also need to think about something much darker, their loyalty to you. Because not every mentor, boss, or big name is a blessing. Some are predators in expensive shoes. They'll use your work, your ideas, your energy. They'll keep you locked in hope while they quietly drain you dry. Machiavelli didn't romanticize these people. He understood deception deeply. That stings, because it puts the responsibility partly on you. You didn't just meet a deceiver. You allowed yourself to be deceived. Why? Because you wanted the shortcut. Because you wanted to believe this connection would save you. Because you were so hungry for endorsement, you ate the bait without checking the hook. Comment: that quote hurt. Dangerous social climbing means you don't just study powerful people, you study yourself around them. If the answer is no, you don't need more prayer, more signs, more hints. You have your answer. You're being seduced by status, not character. You don't need to blow up their life or expose them. You just slowly shift. Give less, reveal less, depend less. You remain polite. You remain professional. But in your mind, the door they had into your future is already closing. He wasn't saying everyone is evil. He was saying, stop being surprised when people act in their own interest over yours. Stop acting like a shocked child every time someone chooses their survival, their image, their profit, their comfort over your dreams. In this game, gratitude is rare. Consistent loyalty is rare. People changing their whole behavior just because you were good to them is rare. So you stop banking your whole strategy on rare things. You hope for loyalty, but you design for selfishness. You appreciate gratitude, but you plan as if it might not come. You welcome honorable people, but you build yourself in a way that survives the dishonorable ones. Comment: Machiavelli doesn't make me hate people. So how do you build connections that survive all this? You play the long game. That looks like this. Year 1, you show up reliably. You say less than you think. You do what you said you'd do. You stay out of drama. Year 2, you're still there. Still solid. A little more successful on your own. A little more confident. You ask for small, reasonable things, and you accept no without sulking. Year 3, you're not just a helper. You have your own momentum. When your name comes up in rooms they're not in, it's attached to results. By then, the relationship has flipped. You're not just someone attached to their name. You're someone whose name they are glad to be attached to. Because here's the secret of every real social climber who makes it to the top and stays. Somewhere along the way, they stop climbing and start building. They stop thinking in terms of up and down and start thinking in terms of across and through. Whose future is tied to mine? Who do I want to win with? Whose name do I want next to mine when this is all over? Powerful people think like that all the time. That's a different energy. It makes you patient. You're not trying to rush into inner circle status in 6 weeks. It makes you selective. Not every big name is someone you even want excessive access to. Once you see how they treat people, it makes you stronger. You build yourself as if no one is coming to rescue you. Even while you become someone powerful enough that rescue offers start appearing anyway. So what does this look like on a practical level when the call ends, when the party is over, when the trip finishes, and you go back home? You follow up like a professional, not like a fan. Short, sharp, no paragraphs of emotional dumping. No hidden asks in every message. You stay on their radar by moving, not by clinging. You build your own platforms, however small at first. You improve your craft, so your work speaks even when you're not in the room. You deepen other relationships, so your entire world doesn't shrink to one powerful person's schedule. And slowly, something happens. Your name starts traveling without you. You don't see those conversations. You only see the results. Random messages. Unexpected opportunities. Doors that feel lucky, but are really just the interest finally catching up to the principle you've been quietly depositing for years. People will call it overnight success. They didn't see the nights you went home from events alone, choosing not to sell your dignity for a shot. They didn't see the months you built skills nobody clapped for. They didn't see the times you walked away from powerful people who played too dirty, even though it killed you to let go of that access. They just see, you're in the photo now. You're at the table now. You're on the email chain now. But you know the truth. You didn't get there by begging. You didn't get there by buying. You didn't get there by pretending. You got there by doing what almost nobody has the patience or discipline to do. You became the kind of person powerful people can't easily replace. So let's pull it all together. You started this as someone outside the gates, wondering how certain faces always end up next to power. You've learned that Powerful people judge by appearance long before they feel your soul. You stopped looking like a liability and started moving like an asset. They're measured by the people around them. You stopped being one more noisy fan and started acting like someone who would make them look wise for having you close. They're constantly scanned for usefulness and risk. You started offering specific value while lowering emotional chaos, neediness, and unpredictability. They test people. You started passing tests quietly instead of bragging about access. They live in a world of flattery and lies. You began practicing rare, careful honesty that adds value instead of ego strokes. They're used to being worshipped or hated. You approach them with respect, but never from the floor. Along the way, you stopped trying to buy friendships and started earning alliances. You stopped letting deception ride in on a crown and started checking behavior instead of titles. You accepted that people are often ungrateful and self-interested, and decided to build a life that doesn't collapse when they act exactly like that. That shift alone separates social climbers who become pets from social climbers who become players. So here's your moment of choice. You can keep watching from outside, guessing how everything works, blaming luck and connections for what you don't have. Or you can start moving like someone who recognizes how much is already in your control: your presence, your patterns, your usefulness, your discretion, your patience. If you're done begging at doors that were never meant to save you, like this video. If you're ready to become the kind of person powerful people can't control, can't easily replace, and quietly fear losing, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Drop a comment with "I'm a player, not a pet," so I know you're not just daydreaming about being in the room. You're choosing to walk into every room with your own gravity. They need a strategy for becoming undeniable. Because this isn't self-help. This is strategy. This is war. And after this, you're not just chasing powerful people. You're becoming the quiet power they never saw coming.